Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. What's up, Glenn? Sorry about that.
Okay, well, I hope I can get this thing because it's after the time now. YouTube is kind of funny about, you know, let's see what I can do here.
All right. So I don't really need this. So I'll just take this over here.
Okay, so I'm not sure how to set this up so that we should be able to hear us anyways.
On YouTube?
Yeah, I'm not. Well, it's showing a white screen right now, and I'm trying to figure out how to fix that.
Can you just like schedule another one for like 9:45, and then you can start it from there?
Well, I think it's ready to go live, but I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing to not just be white, and I'm not sure if let's see here. Looks like everything's working.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll do is I'll just click the go live and see what happens here. So I'm not sure if the sound is coming through on YouTube. It looks like it all is. It says that it's coming through good, and we can hear each other, so they should be able to hear. And I don't know that it really matters what they see because it's a black screen right now, anyways. Unless you want to share your black screen now, anyways. Unless you want to somebody does screen or something.
Hold on. Oh, okay. Let me just mute that. All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. That was just coming from the live because I've got it up on the computer now. I guess I don't need the live up on the computer if I'm on the phone with you, right?
I guess, are you on the phone right now?
No. I'm on Zoom with you, so I don't need it. I don't need to have this up, so yeah. But we were talking about the court cases earlier, right?
Right.
And like since the last time I spoke to you, Glenn, I went through about 3 more court cases. One was with my billet, so I had a warrant for like 9 months, and I spoke to you, and you was like, just take it to federal or the writ of mandamus, because they never answered the jurisdiction. They never.
No, they won't. They don't have it. But so yeah, you just have to do the mandamus and go to the Court of Appeals.
Right.
And but you got to build a good case because they're not just going to help you,
Right.
You got to build a case.
Correct. And
So,
go ahead. Sorry.
So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, depending on how good a case you built.
Mm-hmm. So I filed a bill of particulars, the same one, right? And the prosecutor, they danced around it, never answered to it. But I did allow them to move past it, though,
Yeah, well, what I would do in hindsight is I would do ask the court to order them to respond to the bill of particulars.
What, like
that would be one thing you could do
through a mandamus?
No, just in the court. Just when there's a hearing, you tell the court you file this bill of particulars, and you want to order that you want the court to order them to answer the bill of particulars.
Well, I've pretty much tried everything. I don't think I've tried that specifically, but I'm just trying
Yeah,
to.
well, that's, as far as the bill of particulars is concerned, that's what I would do. But you're right; they just ignore it. Is what they do. That's why I do the challenge to jurisdiction, because and they're going to ignore that too. But that lays the foundation so that you can go to the Court of Appeals for the writ of mandamus.
Right.
But so you got to get it filed. You got to get their file stamps on it, and then when there's a hearing, you got to get the court. You got to get the judge to rule on it. And they'll deny it, and that's fine. And so then you might have to get a transcript, paper transcript. So then you got proof, because you got to go to the Court of Appeals with evidence.
Mm-hmm. Right. You need evidence, right? So I've got evidence and affidavits. Like, I didn't like enforce the affidavit though, but I got it filed in the record though.
Well, but then an affidavit filed is, that's not that good of evidence. What did the affidavit say?
It basically said that the prosecutor answered to my filings when in fact she did not. And that I have the evidence to prove that.
Sorry?
So it basically said that she did not answer to my filing when she, in fact, on the record said she did.
Well, so where is the answer? There's nothing on the record showing that they've answered it.
Well, they wanted to go to trial, and so here's the thing, right? When I showed up there for the jury trial, the judge told me she wanted me to watch a trial before we went to a jury trial. Now, to me, that's just another way of saving my trial right until the end, or recontracting with me, because I did everything. I objected to it and everything because I didn't agree to going to trial. So I objected.
Did you demand trial by jury?
So she scheduled a jury trial, and I said
no, that's not a trial by jury.
Right, but I said I object to a trial. Period. I don't even want to go to trial.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, the trial by jury is fatal for them. Okay, if you stand your ground, there's been cases that I have been aware of where if you stand your ground with the issue of trial by jury alone, the judge, what will happen is the judge will just say, look, all we can give you is a jury trial. We can't give you a trial by jury, because a trial by jury is where the jury conducts the trial.
Correct.
And so they cannot give you one. All they can do is what their codes allows. And so then that's when you remind them about the supreme law of the land and his oath of office to the supreme law of the land, and you're entitled to trial by jury. And that's about the time they come up with some reason why they're going to drop it. But when that happens, it's always right at the end. The jury's sitting there and they're ready to go ahead with the trial, and then they drop it.
See, that's the thing. I kind of felt like if I would have just went through the whole proceedings and sat there and waited for my trial, they probably would have just dropped it. But I didn't want to have to go through all of that.
Well, I don't know the particulars, but I can tell you that if you stand your ground for the trial by jury, then because that's a denial of due process, they lose subject matter jurisdiction. That's definitely a appealable issue, and when they don't have jurisdiction, then they can't even look at the merits of the case. That's why I like the challenge to jurisdiction and going to the Court of Appeals, because they can't look at the merits of the case. All they can do is decide on the issue of jurisdiction.
Right. Because that's the issue that you're appealing, right?
Well, that's with the mandamus, right?
Right, exactly, yeah. Because if they don't have a jurisdiction, they have no grounds or standing to rule or adjudicate the case. But
Right.
my thing is my thing is it's like what like my thing is staying out of their courts altogether though. You know.
Well, I agree, but they're going to drag you in there a couple times till they find out that they're not going to get anywhere, and then they'll tell all their hired thugs to leave you alone.
Exactly. So, but that's why,
Sorry?
like I said exactly. But that's why I've been getting into this executor thing now. And
Well, you're telling a bunch of. I don't do that, quite frankly. If you want to do that, knock yourself out. But you're basically telling a bunch of pirates that you want to do business with them.
right, so you're jumping in the water with the sharks either way.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you're using with the stuff that I do, it's law, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and with the stuff you're doing, you're playing commerce,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a way worse situation because once you walk away from law and go into commerce, you cannot go back to law as far as that case is concerned. You're stuck in the commerce,
Mm.
and they're nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates. It's a dictatorship in there. It's plenary jurisdiction. They're bringing District of Columbia outside 10 miles square.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Right. That's true. It's so hard though because like say for instance you get drugged into that realm. To me, it's best to be in the best position you can be if you are in that realm. You know.
If you can deal with it successfully in that way, then that's fine. Like there's a guy I know, in Canada. He does this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he'll go into court, and they'll call the name,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll say, "I'm a beneficiary of a trust with that name, and I hereby appoint you to be trustee, and I demand that you settle this matter immediately. Now, are you going to perform your fiduciary duty, or do I have to sue you for breach of trust?"
Mm.
And the judge will get up, throw off his black robe, and walk out. And that's when he says, "The captain has left the ship, the case is dismissed," and he walks out.
But don't you have to wait for the judge to come back after he spins around twice? Doesn't he change the jurisdiction and come back?
I don't know. I don't do that stuff. This is just what he told me that he does.
I got
okay?
you. I got you.
But,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't go there. Okay. Again, you're dealing with a bunch of thieves and pirates.
It's the same message I'm getting. You don't go down there. Same message. Different perspective. Same message, Don't go down there. It's like I always say, like John Gotti created his own court. And he's got his own judge. He's got his own prosecutor. He appoints his own public defenders to you. He's got a bunch of clerks. I mean, they all work for John Gotti.
Yeah. Right. That's right.
So why would you go down there? It's like people always talk about jurisdiction, but like, what about the venue? And they always call the venue out on the record, but they don't ever say what jurisdiction that they're under. And I had like what happened with me, Glenn, right? So I asked the prosecutor, was the nature of the cause by way of a breach of contract or an injured party. By the time I was done saying breach of contract, she said, "Okay, sir, you can get up and go sit over there, and we'll wait for the judge to call you." She never saw.
Yeah.
She never saw my filing, my bill of particulars. She never saw. She never.
No, they don't.
Right.
That's why what I do, okay,
Mm-hmm.
is I'll start filing bar grievances against the lawyers.
Mm.
Okay, they're representing you without authority. There's what I'll do is first of all I'll start filing felony criminal complaints. Okay, because what they're doing is there's a minor estate, right? You know that?
Correct.
Okay, so under Title 31 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Section 363.6, there's a minor estate Treasury Direct account. Okay, when you were born by fraud, they created some securities and they deposited them into a Treasury Direct account, and so there's some money in that account. I don't know what it is. I don't really care, but But the point is that it's all a fraud, and it's color of law. Okay, Title 31 Code of Federal Regulations. All regulations are by definition color of law. So they're assaulting you. So what happens is that if you read that Title 31 of the Code of Federal Regulations, it says that a minor is anyone under the age of 18, and it can also be anyone over the age of 18 that hasn't taken control of the securities in their minor account.
Correct.
So, and so then it defines an entity as a minor estate. So, and they're putting you under the Commerce Clause, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. And that's perjury of oath. That's color of law. And they're violating Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. So I start filing felony criminal complaints for involuntary servitude. They're forcing me to work for them for nothing. That's 18 U.S.C. 2073. False and fictitious records. Violating my rights under the color of law. Conspiracy to threaten, coerce, injure, intimidate me in the free exercise of my rights. Subjecting me to their satanic religious ceremony with their fraud and their lies and their deception. That's 18 U.S.C. 247. I start filing felony criminal complaints against the judge and the lawyer and the cop and everybody that's involved. I get a police report. I build a case against them. I send out the criminal complaints by the box, and then I use the criminal complaints as evidence for bar grievances and judicial complaints.
Nice.
And you know, just turn it into a living hell for them. And you know, I did that with Bedford. They gave me an illegal lane change ticket. It's just an illegal lane change is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I filed criminal complaints against the cop and the chief of police. I got a police report. His supervisor, the Bedford. It was the city of Bedford. So every member of the city council and the mayor. And what happened? I've got a YouTube video about this.
Mm-hmm.
What happened is for supporting perjury, because they screen these cops for low intelligence and a propensity for aggressive behavior, and they give them a gun and they tell them to go and do stuff they're not authorized to do, and attempted murder, because I have a right to resist an unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. And if I would have resisted his unlawful arrest, there was no breach of the peace, there was no lawful warrant. If I would have resisted his unlawful arrest, he would have killed me, just like he did to the Utah pigs did to the guy in Utah about a year ago, where they had a homemade plate on his car. And so it's attempted murder. They intended that I exercise my right to resist their unlawful arrest with lethal force if necessary. Anyways, I filed felony criminal complaints against them all. And this was last August. In September, they had a city council meeting. They put out a newsletter. A friend of mine gets the newsletter. He lives in Bedford. In the newsletter, it said that the mayor showed up for the city council meeting and announced that he was resigning effective the next day.
Yeah, you was telling me that story. Yeah.
So again, you know, it's a lot of work, a lot of hassle, but you know, that's what I do. I just start filing felony criminal complaints against them, and use their codes against them. They never follow their own codes. There was someone in the chat that was asking about property taxes, and I did with the property tax case. They sued me for property taxes. Again, that's the minor estate, and I had set it up already. What I do is I sent them a notice and demand, and with the property taxes, I sent the notice and demand. It was about 21 pages, and I tell them why that I'm not their minor estate. I'm a man. And that if I want to see a bona fide contract that I've agreed to their property taxes, or they're going to be guilty of all these felonies, and I start listing the felonies and why they're going to be guilty of them. And so what happened is they sued me for property taxes, and I filed 76 criminal complaints right into the case. And I sent copies to the FBI and, you know, everybody and their brother. What happened is I filed a demand to disqualify the judge, because in Texas, when you file criminal, when the judge becomes aware of any magistrate, actually it's any magistrate is what the law says, when any magistrate becomes aware of any criminal complaints, he has to issue warrants, and it's not discretionary, it's a ministerial duty, and he had failed to issue warrants. And so I did a demand to disqualify the judge. That was about last May, okay, about a year ago. And then what happened is I was looking online in July, and there was a new judge in that court. And so I had to get a copy of the judge's oath of office, and so I contacted the Secretary of State, asked for a copy of their oath. The legal counsel for the Secretary of State responded, and it was the judge that the judge was sworn in July. And so I guess that probably the governor had appointed the judge because it wasn't elected. There was no elections, and so then what happened is in December, no, actually in the fall, they sent me, it was in like October, November, they sent me a notice there was going to be a show trial in December. It was on the 15th of December. And so I didn't go. I already filed a challenge to jurisdiction and all the rest of it, and a demand to disqualify the judge. And so anyways, they held their show trial. And in January, the clerk sends me a letter. For $5, there was an order issued in the case, and for $5 I can get a copy of the order. Well, that's perfect. That if the order had anything to do with me, they'd send it to me, and I wouldn't have to pay anything. And so it has nothing to do with me. So that's all I need to know. So now I'm going after for costs. I want 2 monster boxes of silver for costs for all the trouble I had to go through to fight this lawsuit.
To deal with it, right?
Sorry?
To deal with it, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, under threat, duress, and coercion, because if you don't show up, they'll send their goons out there, right? To drag you in there to conduct...
With property, they steal your property is what they do.
Right.
But you know, it's nothing's happening with my property. And the property tax people quit contacting me, too. I haven't heard a peep out of them since.
Nice. Yeah, I'm weeding my way through the bushes right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. It's a journey. Okay, so nobody knows everything. You just have to, you know, it's a journey. You just here a little, there a little. What does the Bible say? You know, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little.
Come on with it.
So you got to, but I found that the criminal complaints work the best. Okay, that's law. I use law against them. I use their law. They never follow their own codes, and I use their law against them, and I break it off in their ass. What's the first thing they say to you? Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law. So I collect evidence. The evidence is stuff they give me, and I break it off in their ass.
And I've seen that you have the bonded or the silver bonded claim in one of your trainings.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The $2. Let's see. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Don't mean to. My apologies. Coin-based criminal complaint.
Yeah. Yeah, what happened is Coinbase was doing their KYC. I had a Coinbase account before they had the KYC requirement, and I was sending cryptos and doing all sorts of stuff, the usual stuff. But then Coinbase decided they wanted to do the KYC, and so I filed criminal complaints against every member of the board of directors. You know, I ultimately did the KYC, but I think that they pretty well, you know, they leave me alone as far as you know, I don't have any trouble with Coinbase. Let me put it that way. Same thing with YouTube. YouTube, you know, they took my channel down twice, so I filed felony criminal complaints against the board of directors for Google, and every member of the board of directors for violating my rights under the color of law, or conspiracy, for involuntary servitude, for war crimes. Okay, because they were taking reprisals against me for my political beliefs, and their forced medical experiment, and they were hiring the Southern Poverty Law Center, the communist Southern Poverty Law Center, to take reprisals against me for my political beliefs. Anyways, so what happened is Google fired the CEO and they fired the Southern Poverty Law Center.
They probably started doing business under a new name, so.
Well, no, I don't know. Yeah, well, that was Alphabet. I don't think that might have had something to do with their Alphabet stuff, but where they got the Alphabet Corporation now. But I can tell you, the CEO resigned. Okay, so and they got a new CEO, but I think it's because the CEO was probably asked to resign because I filed these felony criminal. See, I'll tell you, we do have a lot of good public servants, and you got to bring the right issues and complain. Mm-hmm. And when you do, somebody's going to go over there and talk to them. And the next thing you know, they're going to see they're going to have a problem. And all of a sudden, so I put on my YouTube videos, Google wants to be sued because they took my channel down twice. But notice it's up now. You see that? It's up. And both times when they took my channel down, both times they send you an email and say, we took your channel down, and if you got something to say about it, you can respond to this link. And both times I responded the same way. And I said, you're engaged in multiple felonies. You're violating my rights under the color of law, felony. You're conspiring to threaten, coerce, injure, intimidate me in the free exercise of my rights, another felony. You're engaged in war crimes with your forced medical experiment, taking reprisals against me for my political beliefs. You're subjecting me to your satanic religious ceremony with your fraud and deception. I'm going to sue your butt off. All your executive officers and board of directors are personally liable in their private capacity. And if you don't think I know what to do, I've been to the U.S. Supreme Court 5 times. You're next. And then 15 minutes later, my channel's back up.
Dude, you need to make a documentary, Glenn.
Well, it's in the YouTube videos, you know.
Yeah, and you do your fair share of traveling too.
I do. I haven't been on an airliner for a long time, but I've actually been all over the world. I've been across the pond dozens of times, but I got tired of getting groped by the TSA pigs, and so I haven't been overseas. But right now, actually, I'm preparing an original petition to the U.S. Supreme Court under Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. Says the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction over all cases involving ambassadors and consuls, and I'm going to sue the U.S. consulate in Calgary, Canada, for conspiring with communists in Canada, the Five Eyes Alliance, to engage in war crimes against me, and so we'll see what happens. And I'm going to I'll bring up Texas Department of Public Safety and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. It's like throwing mud against a wall. You never know what's going to stick. You know what I mean?
Right. So what do you say to the people who goes, oh, you're just suing them in their courts? Essentially, they're all corrupt. Well,
this is the Supreme Court, so the Supreme Court is actually the only real Article 3 court.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rest of them are really not Article 3 courts, and the Supreme Court doesn't even have to be Article 3. It depends on the issues that you're bringing to them. But this is actually Constitution, and I tell them, and this is one of the things that they have a problem with, that creates a big problem for them, is I tell them that Will Livingston, that ratified the Constitution for New Jersey in 1787, is my fourth great uncle, and that makes me posterity, and I have right of blood, and that which is created can never be greater than that which created it. And there are Supreme Court cases, McCullough versus Maryland from 1815, where the Supreme Court said that the government has nothing to say to we the people. That's why they have to get you into the Commerce Clause. They get you into the Commerce Clause and use that. They're perjuring their oath by bringing the District of Columbia outside 10 Mile Square
Mm-hmm.
in violation of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Now, when I'm in a foreign country, I don't have constitutional protections in a foreign country, but I do have protections of the felonies, and I do have protections under international law, and that's why I'm accusing them of war crimes, and I've got evidence of it too.
Mm. It pays to know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's you got to know what you're. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and so this is something that, I think I was born for this, quite frankly.
Exactly. I mean, you're one of the chosen ones, right? Like,
well, I don't know if I'm chosen. I wish I didn't have to do it, but somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's.
And
don't get me going.
Yeah, no joke. Yeah.
Don't get me going. Like,
well, when I was 16 years old, I was given a patriarchal blessing. I was raised as a Christian, and that patriarchal blessing said, "Unto whom much is given, much is expected."
Correct.
And so, I feel like I have to do something, or I'm going to be held accountable on Judgment Day.
Exactly. You do what's right, and then you to me that's why they're called right, because there's nothing wrong with what you're doing,
So, anyways, we all have our own path to follow, and what I would suggest, as far as you're concerned, is I like the criminal complaints the best. I like sticking to law. I don't go in there. And I'm going to bring up the Treasury and this minor estate in this lawsuit with the Supreme Court, and I'm gonna tell them I don't give a shit what you do with your minor estate, but I want this thing liquidated and dissolved immediately, and I want it done yesterday, and I don't give a shit what you do with the fake money that's in it. Quite frankly, if they did dissolve and liquidated it, I think they probably would have to give it to me, but I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what they do with it. So I guess we'll see.
Right. So because as we spoke earlier, it gave me that perspective, Glenn, on how you choose to live outside of their realm completely. Right? And everything, all your transactions are done in the private.
Sometimes I think that they used to call these people outlaws in the old days.
Right.
And I guess maybe I'm an outlaw.
Right. That's awesome, though. I mean, but, who's calling you the outlaw? It's them. It's not us.
Yeah, right. It's the Pinkertons.
The Pinkertons. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, the Pinkertons, they become the city police or the FBI. That's just another version of the Pinkertons. You see what I'm saying?
That's where it started, right?
Yeah, that's right. Private police.
Private police. My goodness.
And I tell them, you want a piece of me? You just name a date, time, and location. I'll come armed. We'll settle it for once and for all. And the sooner I'm out of here, the better. And if I blow your pig's brains out first, the first words out of my mouth.
Wait, hold on now.
He wanted to do a commercial transaction. I tell you, when I send him a nastygram, I put that stuff in there.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes I send out these nastygrams, and I've got YouTube videos about it too. It's under intervention. If you I've got YouTube videos about intervention, and I talk about the 4-letter words, and I'll send them nastygrams, and yeah, for sure. Sometimes I don't do it very often. I did that with the Bedford Chief of Police. What happened is I sent him a notice and demand, and it basically puts him in a position of having to honor his oath of office. And it was about 20 pages, and it basically explains the law to him and how he's operating under the color of law and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then about a year and a half later, one of his hired thugs, arrests me, does all sorts of crap. So then I send him a nastygram, and when I send out my nastygrams, I send them out to everybody and their brother, and it's all listed at the top. In other words, I sent it to the FBI, I sent it to the state police, I sent it to to Trump. Trump was president at the time; he got a copy, And so it starts off. It says, normally I say I accept your oath of office, but you and I both know you have no intention of honoring your oath of office. So fuck your oath, you lying, perjuring motherfucking son of a bitch. and then the second paragraph says, if you or your pigs want a piece of me, just name a date, time, and location. I'll come armed. We'll settle it for once and for all, you lying, perjuring MFSOB. And then the third paragraph says, I know you'll never take me up on that because you're cowards, you lying, perjuring MFSOB. And then, and this is like 20 pages of that, right? And so, anyway, so what happened is and they never told me, okay? I heard a friend of mine knows the mayor. You remember the mayor that just resigned from Bedford? Well, a friend of mine knew that guy. And the mayor told him one day that the Texas Department of Public Safety raided the Bedford Police Department and fired everybody in there, and they can't even use their own jail anymore. And you know, I think it was because of that, but I don't know. They never tell me. And but it's amazing how many times stuff like that happens after I do something like that.
Right. And how many times does this happen?
Well, I haven't sent out too many nastygrams, if that's what you're wondering.
No, like after like a bunch of people get fired after you've like sent out some things.
Well, you know, when it really started is I was living up in New York. This was back in like 2010, and was working for doing aircraft. I do aerospace engineering consulting, so I was working for a company up in New York, and I was traveling around all over there. There's lots of states. It's easy to go from one state to the next. And so I was noticing, you know, I sent out a notice and demand to all of anybody I might have to deal with, so I can, you know, it's called estoppel certificates. I put them into estoppel. I've got YouTube videos about it. And so what happened is I sent one to the Pennsylvania Attorney General, and I said, I'm going to be traveling in your area, and I don't have a driver's license, and that kind of stuff. See what I'm saying? And one of his flunkies sent me a letter back saying, if you drive in Pennsylvania without a driver's license, we're going to arrest your butt and take you down and put you in jail. And so I took their letter with my letter, and I made up a little short four-page affidavit of criminal complaint, and I sent it to the U.S. Attorney in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 2 weeks later, I get a letter back saying, we've referred this matter to the FBI. 6 months later, I'm looking on the Pennsylvania Attorney General's website, and I have an acting Attorney General. Now, you have to understand that when they have an acting anything, it's when the guy that was there resigned before his term was up, and so they appoint someone to act until the next regular election. And so I think I got his butt removed, but I have no idea. They never tell me. And but it's amazing how many times I've done that stuff. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
That's crazy. It's regaling.
So if you don't complain, you have to understand we're under martial law, and if you don't complain, nothing's going to change. It's a military dictatorship. It really is. And but you can complain, and if you don't complain, then you've agreed to it.
Right. So you have to actually make the complaint.
Yeah, and you got to use their words, okay? You got to use their words and their codes and break it off in their ass. Build a case against them, and you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so that's why I sent them out the notice and demand, and then they send me a letter back. So that gives me evidence. If they're smart, they won't respond. But that gives me evidence. So believe me, I've got evidence. I collect all that evidence, and I put that stuff away, and I digitize it, and I use it against them.
Right. Because I mean, you have to build your case when you're ready to actually file your complaint against them, right?
Right. It's all about building a case. You got to build a case.
What do you think about family court, Glenn?
Well, that's D.C. Okay, family court is D.C. They're bringing District of Columbia outside 10 Mile Square. And what I would do if I was married or in the position that, you know, something like that was going on, I mean, what does the Bible say? The Bible says give her a writing of divorcement. So you can nip it in the bud. Matter of fact, I helped a guy here in Texas. We prepared a notice of declaration of divorce, and he went and actually took it to a county, and he wanted to record it. This was Cook County, and the county clerk actually, what they did, and this is perfect, the county clerk put a file stamp on it and put one line through the word file and wrote in posted. And they posted it on their bulletin board. And that's perfect. And it posted for 30 days and it becomes public policy. And so he's got it posted. And so I told him, I said he needs to get the county that he lives in to do the same thing, or do a legal notice in the newspaper, in a countywide newspaper, and do the same thing. And then this court divorce case has been going on for like 5 years, and they haven't ever given a final judgment. And so he can trump it. He can sandbag the bastards. This judge is really onerous to him, you know. And so he can beat them to the punch and make it res judicata, and they'd be screwed.
Right, because you make it public policy by putting it out there, and then no one rebuts it, right?
Well, after 30 days, it is public policy, right? So
if no rebuttal, someone would have to follow up behind you and file another notice to rebut it.
That's right.
Right. You could do the same thing with affidavits, though, couldn't you? Because, like, I don't know if you've seen
affidavits. Yes and no. I mean, it's got to be in the public. Okay, that's why you use the county clerk. Okay.
Correct.
And you post it, or you can do a county-wide newspaper. With this lawsuit, when I sue the U.S. consulate, I'm going to sue them for like about $1 billion because I recorded a document back in the 90s that said that my rights, and it was a document that I sent a copy to the U.S. Secretary of State. I can't remember who all, but it was all the Secretary of State, and there wasn't Homeland Security back then, but it was executive officers in the federal government got a copy, and I have proof they got a copy. And it was a notice to inquire. A friend of mine showed me to do that, and so I sent it to him. And it said in there that my rights are valued at $1 million per right per day. And they sold me into slavery for 82 days. And so I'm figuring about a bill. You know, they want to settle it. We'll take a bill. And so we'll see what happens. Eh?
Yeah. A bill? Can I be your can you contract with me and let me be your press manager for the whole deal?
Well, who knows? We could probably arrange something, yeah.
All right. That's crazy because since I've been talking to you, like I've got this whole let's talk about it thing that I have on TikTok, and I've talked to about 40 different people, right?
Right.
And I find them telling them the same thing because all I'm doing is sharing with them what I went through during my court case, and because that's all I know, so that's all I can share. And what I've been through in my personal or my experience living through it, right, is that you can see how they just start dancing around when you start asking them certain questions.
Right.
You know, and you see that it's all dog and pony. It's a circus. They all got costumes on.
Yeah.
And they're all masquerading like they're adjudicating law when they're just really administrating contracts.
It's definitely, and so that's why I just file a criminal complaints against them. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to get into a debate with them. You know, they're nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates, and they don't know. What does the Bible say? This Bible says they're the father of lies, and there's no truth in them. And so I use scriptures, and so I just state the facts the way they are, and which is felonies. They're involved in felonies, and they need to get their next stretch. If we had a Christian nation like we're supposed to have started out as, then this stuff wouldn't be going on, because these people would be getting their necks stretched, is what had happened. At common law, they're supposed to get their necks stretched. Selling people into slavery, they should be put to death.
That's that's how all the laws derived. That's where it all started, right? That's what the penalties would be back in the days, right?
Yeah, it says that in Deuteronomy.
Right. There you go. What about people in jail? Like, because I remember talking to you, and you've helped people in jail too, Evan.
Well, I haven't gotten anybody out of jail. I'm working on that, actually, but I haven't gotten anybody out. But people contact me from jail, and sometimes I help them. Sometimes, they're watching my YouTube videos somehow, and so everything is free. I put it all up there for free. If you want my exclusive videos, you got to pay, but that stuff is above and beyond. The stuff you need to know is free, and the forms, I have free files. I got a website, and so it's all free. It's all on YouTube. It's free, and all you got to do is spend the time and learn about how the law works, and you have to be careful not to. There's a lot of trolls out there peddling their unproven theories, and so you got to watch out for that stuff, because it'll get you into trouble, and so you got to be careful. If you can't mix it, okay, you cannot mix law and commerce, okay. As a matter of fact, there's people and there's a friend of mine that he just doesn't get it, and he'd go in there and make a good law argument, and the judge is listening to him, and then he'd bring out the birth certificate, and he'd say, I got this birth certificate authenticated, and the judge looks at him and says, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. He says, you need your head examined, and order him to go and see a shrink, and because under Title I, Section 1, incompus mentis is insane. Okay, incompus mentis is incompetent when you don't know what you're talking about, and you cannot mix it, and so you gotta stick strictly to law, and they're nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates. That's why I say, they're scum. They're the lowest form of life there is. They should get their neck stretched.
Yeah. And I like it. It's like, stay out of there. And it's funny, Glenn, because I'm getting the same message from the people who are the most knowledgeable that I seem to come across. I'm getting the same message, but, they all come from different perspectives. And it's just one thing to be able to take one perspective and then be exposed to another one. And then it's like, that makes sense too, But,
well, you can get a remedy. If you can get a remedy in that, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that you're playing with fire, and you're getting in a contract with the devil. And if you want to do that, if it works for you, I wish you the best of luck. It's not something I can do, and so don't ask me about it. And you're dealing with thieves and pirates, and expect, what happens is some people might be successful with that stuff, but what will happen invariably is if too many people start being successful at it, they can change the rules, because they don't want too many of their slaves getting away.
Yeah. And that's a good segue, because I just made a video today about the whole banking loan thing. And like, I was talking to somebody else on the phone today, and I was like, I told this person, or this individual rather, that, like, I subscribe to at least 5 or 6 different channels that they do nothing but post videos of sovereign citizen fail videos. And there's almost a new one every day. You know what I mean? So to me, what does that tell you? It tells you that people are at least waking up to the BS, and they're at least trying to stand up for it. And now
that's true.
And the courts now are scrambling to try to, like, get around it.
Right.
So now people start taking these things, but like that, and I put in the video, I said, I'm concerned to see what they will do when enough people start doing this. You know, I mean, because if we're at war, how far are they willing to take the war against the people?
Well, if the people do, and I think what's going to happen, I think it's not too far away actually, but this is just something I'm hearing by the grapevine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Biden has already been making noises about inviting the UN into the country, and I think that if he does that, it's going to be like major mistake.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of old farts that just don't care, and those blue helmets will make really good targets. And that's all I can say. If I was going to do something like that, I'd never tell anybody about it, and I just go and do it. But there's more arms in the hands of the American people than there is in every other government on the planet combined.
Right. I've got a few tools myself, so.
Yeah, it's equipment.
It's equipment, and sure.
Again, they're foreign. And I have a meme that I show as part of all of my videos. It says, "Never forget that men who started this country were marijuana-growing, whiskey-drinking, tax-evading rebels who left their beds at night to shoot at the cops."
Right.
And that's exactly what they did. I think my attitude is the War of Independence was started by the militias. Everybody was required to be armed. And if you were outside of town more than 2 miles without your arms, you got a fine. And if you went to a public meeting without your arms, you got a fine. Boy, that would sure be nice. If people went armed to public meetings, I guarantee you those bureaucrats wouldn't be doing the shit they're doing. And so, people need to wake up to what our real traditions are, who we are. And, that's all I can say. And I think people are waking up to that.
More and more. There's a sovereign citizen fail video uploaded every day. I'm like, this is good news. Because the people are waking up to it, and they're at least standing on their rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that banking loan video that you had out, man, I watched it. It was amazing, right? It was a great video. But there was a story that you told. There's a story that you told in it about.
Okay, what?
I can't remember. I'll have to watch it again, because I watched the whole thing. So the story came in the beginning. And you're talking about the bank loans. And you put that Canadian case at the beginning, stating that once you have that promissory note, they cannot convert it into something to make you pay for it, which is the loan.
Well, it's not a loan. You created the money.
Right.
Banks don't loan money. They never have. They never will. Banks do not loan money. What they do is they're a facilitator of credit. That's all they do. They facilitate the credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, there was a story that I told about a $29,000 credit card. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, let's start with there, because it was at the beginning of the video, and I watched it earlier today, so...
There was a story about a $29,000 credit card that I had.
Mm-hmm.
That I was, when I worked in aviation all my life, and so there's times when there's no work, and I'm out of work, and things get tight, and I'm not able to make payments and stuff like that. And so, anyways, I got a demand letter. Okay, you know what a demand letter is?
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, that's cool.
I got a demand letter. A demand letter is a letter from the lawyers saying pay up now or we're going to
Right.
sue you.
Yes. Yes, that was the story. Yes.
And so what I did was I I said sure. I responded by registered mail, and I sent them a letter, and I said sure, no problem, you can sue me, but I intend to prove in court that you didn't loan me anything,
Right.
and I intend to prove that that and I intend to ask an officer of the bank and a CPA these 160 questions and prove you didn't loan me anything. And oh, by the way, if you want to have an officer of the bank sign this one-page affidavit saying you did actually loan me a depositor's money, which is a felony, by the way, I'll reconsider my position. And I sent that to him by registered mail. And 90 days later, I got a statement back on that account showing it had been paid off.
Yes. Yes.
And needless to say, they didn't sue me either. If they would have, they would have got disbarred, because if that came out, and that's why the lawyers are perfect. You wait till the lawyers are sending a letter. If it's some form from bank or anything like that, trash it. But when it's a letter from the lawyers are officers of the court, and they work for the court. They don't work for the bank. And so once you send that by registered mail and I have proof that I sent it to them, now they got a problem. And it's true. And so if they went ahead and sued me and that came out in court, those lawyers would get disbarred. They had no choice but to discharge that alleged debt.
There it is.
So that's why I like doing the Form 1020 though for anything like that. Again, you're using their codes against them, okay? And Article 1, Section 10 says only gold or silver coin is legal tender, and all lawyers have to swear an oath to the Constitution. And so the Form 1020 is beautiful. It's a one-pager. It's a two-pager. I'm sorry, a two-pager. And you said, sure, no problem. I'll pay. Tell me what to pay. Only your lawyers can answer. And you give them some possibilities, evidence of the debt of the United States, bonds, tell me what to pay, I'll pay it, and other, just tell me what to pay, and explain, and so they never answered, or they'll never answer. And I used it with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit over a filing fee, and you send them the notice, and the Form 1020, which is a homemade form. It's not an IRS or any other form. It's a homemade form. Anyways, you send them the Form 1020, and then after 15 days, you send them a notice of default and opportunity to cure, and you failed to tell me what to pay, and so I'm going to give you another 5 days, though. And after 5 days, you send them a final notice of default. You failed to tell me what to pay, therefore I don't owe you anything. And when I sent the final notice of default to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, they sent me a scheduling order, okay? Do you know what a scheduling order is?
Not yet.
When you file a lawsuit or an appeal to the Court of Appeals, they tell you that you have to pay a filing fee, and then when you pay the filing fee, they send you a scheduling order. A scheduling order is when you have to have your appellant's briefs done. And then the appellee's brief, when it has to be done, the appellee is who's responding to your appellant, to you as the appellant, and then how long after that you can file another brief or an argument to their appellee's brief. It tells you when everything has to be done by.
There you go.
And they send you that after the filing fee is paid.
Okay.
The court sends that stuff out. It's not by some judge. It's just the court that does it.
There it is. So, like, back in the day, this is probably like 2021, I went on Glenn's page. I went on your page, Glenn, and I bought your exclusive content. And I've been looking through it now because I have it in a way that I could just watch it and take notes and start actually executing, you know what I mean? Coinbase criminal complaint training, copyright notice training, corporate denial training, DIY do it yourself administrative procedure training, estoppel training, federal habeas corp. It just keeps going. And I can keep scrolling. I think there's about maybe 25, 27 different trainings here. Where can I find it, Glenn?
Well, actually, that's on my. You'll find that on my HowTube. I have it available on HowTube now.
Okay.
And HowTube.com, I have a subscription channel there, and it's $10 a month if you want to go there, and then I upload videos regularly there, and there's like about 30 or 40 or 50. I think there might be 50 videos there now. Let me look. There's a bunch.
Wow. So there's more since I bought it in 2021, obviously.
Well, yeah. The YouTube, has been taking my videos down. So I put all the videos up there that that YouTube has taken down. I put them on HowTube, and so how many videos have I got up there? I'm on there right now. Let's see here.
Just a few more. Notice of void judgment training, revocation of signature, revocation of voter registration, third party witness. It's, how to file a lawsuit, discovery training. It's like, wow. Land deed training.
So I've got like 78 videos on HowTube.
78 videos. Wow.
That includes YouTube has taken some of my videos down, and so I think there's 78. There's
And that story you told us of the notice and demand letter, that was back in the 90s, wasn't it?
77. There's 77 videos. The notice and demand. The story. The what story?
The story you was telling us on. They sent you the notice of demand, and you were like, "That's great, because I can, I bet you, I intend on proving that you didn't loan me anything." That story, you said that was in the 90s.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's crazy. That was in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mentioned, like, how many people was into this kind of knowledge back in the 90s outside of the lawyers?
Well, that was actually I went to this meeting in Toronto, Canada, and there was a guy there. I'll just say his name was Wally. I won't say his last name, but he was an accountant.
Right.
And he said that he had dealt with an issue like that, doing that procedure, and so I wasn't ready for it. But when I got that, I thought, whoa, looks like I got to do Wally's procedure. And I just made up a one-page affidavit saying, I swear under penalty of perjury that I for an officer of the bank to sign. You see what I'm saying? And saying that they had actually loaned me a depositor's money. And so I started learning this stuff in the late 80s, actually. Matter of fact, what happened is, I do aerospace engineering consulting. I was working on a contract in San Diego, and this was in the late 80s, this guy comes up to me and starts talking about the two classes of citizens, and I said, "You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about." And he brought out court cases, and I thought, whoa, if this is true, this is the most fantastic thing there is, and I got to look into this, and the more I looked into it, the more I found out it was 100% correct. So
yeah, that's what I said. Like, until I started actually taking control of my case, you start actually seeing things for what they really are.
Yeah.
But when you're standing behind that lawyer, it's just nothing but plea bargain haggling going on in there.
Yeah, the lawyers are liars, and they're gonna sell you down the river.
Yeah, I call them bar buddies now. They're gonna put one of their bar buddies on you.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the first thing you do, and you can actually approach the lawyers a couple different ways. Randy Kelton talks about it. Randy Kelton is, I've gotten to know him really well. He's strictly statutory though. You got to understand that. And so he um, he just goes by the statutes. So I mix it with common law and other stuff, eh? But anyway, but he's got some great ideas, and so that's where that demand to disqualify the judge. That was his idea, and it worked great. And so see, what were we talking about? He was talking about a night something I got from Randy Kelton.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking about?
We was talking about recusing the judge. He came up with that.
Oh yeah, the disqualify the judge. Right. Demand to disqualify the judge. Right. I did that in my property tax case, and it worked great. That judge was gone, and my problem went away at the same time.
There's all kind of ways you can skin the cat, isn't it?
There is. You got to use their codes, but so I just build a case against them, and break it off in their ass. And I don't have. First of all, you got to understand that it's warfare.
Right.
You're at war.
Right.
And they are the enemy. If they're talking to you, you are the enemy. Okay, and you have to treat it that way. And you never ever tell the enemy what you're going to do. You sandbag the bastards. And so it's warfare. It's all out, knock down, drag out warfare. You win any way you can, and so these bar members hate bar grievances, and so I send my bar grievances out by the box, and it's amazing how good that works too. There was, for example, I like driving on the toll roads. And here in Dallas, there's a whole bunch of toll roads, and man, you can cover some way better territory than you can if you're on the regular freeway. The freeway's a parking lot half the time. Mm-hmm. And so they were sending me bills, and so I did the Fearn 1020, and tell me what to pay. I want to pay it. Tell me what to pay, and they never responded. But what I did is I included their chief counsel. Okay, the North Texas Toll Road Authority has a board of directors and a chief counsel, and so I sent it to their chief counsel, and of course they didn't respond. And so then what I did was after I got the process perfected, I filed a bar grievance against their chief counsel, and then it all went away. I drive on the toll roads all the time, and they never send me a bill. and I can tell you that they're reading my plate, because when I go to Austin is a different toll road authority, but it's the same billing company. So when I go to Austin, they send me a bill, but they never send me one in Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I go on the toll roads all the time.
So they kind of spread the word there.
Well, they haven't spread the word with with Austin, because Austin sends me the bill. So I'd have to do the same thing. I'd have to find out who the toll road authority is in Austin. It's online, and then do the Fearn 1020, right, and tell me what to pay, and with their chief counsel, and bar grieve their chief counsel, and then it'd go away. Matter of fact, I did the Fearn 1020 with my car loan. This is going to be the test. I'm telling you, this is going to be the test, because I did the Fearn 1020 with my car loan. And now I filed, in Texas, there's Class A misdemeanor, which is extortionate, release of lien, of fraudulent lien. There's a release of fraudulent lien. I sent them a notice to release their fraudulent lien because they're supposed to discharge it, and they haven't. And so, and then I filed wire fraud charges against them because it's showing that the debt is still owing. And now I'm getting ready to file a bar grievance against their attorneys, and I'll bet you the thing goes away when I do that. I guess we'll see. That's going to be the proof in the pudding, I'm telling you. And I've used it with credit cards, and again, you have to. The credit card companies, they're a bunch of thieves, and so you have to. I accuse them of wire fraud, and I file complaints with the controller of the currency if it's a bank, okay? Like Capital One, I file complaints with the controller of the currency, and they haven't sold the loans now. There's another bank that actually sold the loan, and so I'm accusing them of wire fraud. I accuse them of wire fraud anyways, and so I think the whole thing is that when I file the bar grievances, I bet you that stuff disappears off the credit report and everything.
Mm. Damn, man, I need an ATM card and just like pull out a withdrawal of knowledge. That was dope. Like I want to segue into the asset protection thing because we've had dealings with that too.
Okay.
I've got his asset protection package. I'm just trying to get everything else out the way so I can start getting back into doing business, you know.
Have you got the bank account all set up, didn't you?
I haven't, so I gotta have some funds to put in there. So.
Oh yeah, well I understand that. Yeah, and some revenue coming in to have it go into the bank. I understand that.
Right, exactly.
And when I was working in aviation, you know, my best paycheck for a week was $7,800.
Mm.
My best paycheck. That was my best paycheck for a week, and it was basically a check with no deductions.
Mm. Because you knew all that shit back then too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That was back in like 2010.
Right. Like I'd love to. I want to get back on it though, and get back to doing my business, man. Because I haven't been working. I've just been, talking to the people for like the last year, and fighting my court case. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It can be a feeding frenzy sometimes. I've been there.
Right. And I'm a green pea, so I'm still learning. And it's good to talk to people who have been in it. Like for you, it's like you're going on 30 years now. And
well, I first learned about it in late 80s. Yeah, so then the 90s, the 20s, the 2010s. Yeah, so 2020s. So it's about 35 years.
Gee willikers. Is there?
So, but
Go ahead.
I've always been into the law and stuff like that. Although, I mean, I working in aviation, you deal with law and regulations all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's highly regulated. There's nothing that goes into an airplane that's not regulated somehow, and so you get used to dealing with that kind of stuff.
Correct. You told the story of how the helicopter propeller flew off, and it's like that never happens.
No, that don't happen. Yeah, that was sabotage for sure.
Mm-hmm. It was probably a person of interest on that helicopter, huh?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. You want to field some questions from TikTok?
Well, there's a guy on YouTube that wants to know about the Tom Schaff book. You can actually find that, Banker's Secrets. It's called Banker's Secrets. And it's online. I found it for somebody here recently. Just do a search for Banker's Secrets, Tom Schaff. And it's online. You can download it. It's free. So that's easy. It's called Banker's Secrets. But if you got any questions from TikTok, then that's fine. I'm looking at the chat on YouTube right now.
Right, so I got the top secret banker's manual. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. That's Tom Schaff.
Let's see. I do not see a author.
Julie Oliver is saying, don't understand mixed commerce and law. You can't do that. You use their codes that are related to commerce, yes, but you cannot, like with the traffic ticket, like there's a friend of mine that right now is dealing with the IRS. Matter of fact, they're trying to put him in the corporate hotel, and he's having a trial right now, and today, and the last day of the trial is tomorrow, and I told him that he keeps bringing up about the bond, and I said, don't bring that up, don't talk about that. I said, but you can tell him that you thought that You didn't think, when you filled out that tax return, you thought that they were going to be able to collect it from that minor estate account with the Treasury. Okay, that's okay because that's in their codes.
Right.
But you can't. There's the bond and all that shit. I mean, that's all. You can't talk about that because everything. When you say something, you got to be able to prove it. And some of that stuff was really hard to prove. And that Title 31, I sent him a copy of the Code of Federal Regulations for Title 31 of the Code of Section 363.6, and so he can introduce that as evidence. And it talks about the Treasury Direct Account and everything. And so they can't dispute that. And that's easy to prove. And I think that's going to get him off the hook because they're going after him. He filed some tax returns and they didn't like him, so they're accusing him of lying on his tax return. And then he didn't file, and so they're accusing him of willful failure to file. And I told him, bring up the parallel table of authorities, okay? And if you look in the privacy statement on the 1040 booklet, there it says that their authority to collect this information is found in, I can't remember the sections, I think it's 6001, 6011, and 6012A or something like that. Anyways, when you look those sections up in the parallel table of authorities, those are found in Title 27 United States Code, which means that unless you're involved in alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, they have no enforcement authority. And so when you bring that up, there's Kerry Zolman got off by bringing that up. And so now it's not willful failure to file, okay? You have to be, in order to be willful failure to file, it has to be willful. If the courts have ruled that if you have an honest belief that you're not required to file, then they can't go after you for willful failure to file. So we can defeat that one, and I think we can defeat the one for lying on his tax return too. We'll see what happens. We're going to find out tomorrow. He's in trial right now. So you can use your codes like that, but you don't bring up about the bond. You know, the bond is none of your business, okay? When you sue their ass off, you can bring up the bond, but not until. You got to defeat the criminal case first.
But like, say, well, for instance, you had QSIP numbers, and you had a way to, back up your claims with the bonds.
You know, if you do, okay, now I've heard of people that will go to the prosecutor. Okay, they don't go to the judge. You cannot go to the judge with this. They go to the prosecutor. Okay, now it's private. You go to the prosecutor with a copy of the birth certificate. And you tell the prosecutor, this is not for identification, this is for evidence of my interest. And I hereby release my interest to you to settle this matter. And the prosecutor says, oh, thank you. And it's all done. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do, you don't bring that stuff up with the judge, though.
Right.
You have to know who to bring it up with if you're going to bring that stuff up, and how to handle it. You don't bring that stuff up with the judge. There's a guy that I know, like I was telling you earlier, that friend of mine, that he'd bring up the birth certificate with the judge, and the judge says, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You can't bring that stuff up with the judge. You bring it up with the prosecutor. It's private.
What do you think about subrogation? Question coming from TikTok, Moonbug.
Yes, I'm familiar with that, and I think that, well, it's an argument, but I wouldn't use it. It's definitely, when it's insurance and you're subrogating your rights, and somebody's subrogating, something's going on there. It's all insurance and bonds and all the rest of it. But again, you cannot talk about that. It shows that you're incompetent. So you got to talk. That's why I just talk about jurisdiction, because they never, ever even try to prove jurisdiction. And when they deny due process, they lose subject matter jurisdiction, and they deny due process all the time. They do it in 100 different ways. Failure to provide a trial by jury is a denial of due process. All sorts of things they do that are denials of due process. And so when they deny due process, they lose subject matter jurisdiction. And when they lose subject matter jurisdiction, then they're done. and so then you just challenge jurisdiction. They'll never try and prove it. I've never ever seen them try and prove it. They'll say, "Oh, we got jurisdiction." No, that's not proving it.
Right. You're in my court, sir. So we have jurisdiction over you.
It was like this friend of mine with the IRS. We filed a challenge to jurisdiction, and the judge was railing, saying, "I got jurisdiction all over the country, and I got subject matter jurisdiction." And I told him that when that happens, to tell the judge, we're not disputing any of that. But when you deny due process, you lose subject matter jurisdiction. And he didn't know to bring that up.
Mm-hmm. And would you be able to use like a judicial notice?
Sorry?
Could you bring up a judicial notice in order to enforce it, like as one of your play cards?
For what? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, like, because the judicial notice is so hard for me to say that word. Right? You're putting them on notice of, your lack of due process and
I don't worry about that kind of stuff. You build a case against them. I challenge jurisdiction. Okay.
Right. Okay.
The judge, the prosecutor technically is the one that's supposed to prove jurisdiction. But if the prosecutor doesn't do it, the judge has to make the prosecutor, or the judge. The end result, the judge. You never ever. Sending them a judicial notice is like telling the enemy what you're planning on doing.
I got you.
And I just remember saying that you never, ever tell the enemy what you're going to do. You sandbag the bastards.
Okay, right. I got it. You send it straight to the prosecutor.
Of course, everything is to the prosecutor.
Right, because the judge
the judge is working for the prosecutor, but that's another thing, is there's another friend of mine that's in court, and the prosecutor hasn't even been there. He's had 2 or 3 hearings, and the judge is basically goes in there and the judge is running everything. Well, that judge is practicing law from the bench. And I give him a motion to disqualify the judge, or a demand to disqualify the judge. So I'll bet you that judge will be gone. And I'll bet you the next hearing there's going to be a prosecutor there. But we'll see.
I see, yeah. Isn't that funny? Like, the other party's not even there, not even their prosecutor or their lawyer.
Yeah, what's up with that?
That doesn't make sense. There's no other party here, so the judge is conducting all of the procedures by himself?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
And he's making threats, telling him he's got to get a lawyer, and so that's like perjury of oath too. Telling him that he has to be a state bar member and all this other shit.
Right.
I bet you we get that judge removed. I bet you not only removed, like removed off the bench. I bet you he can't. I bet you he's gone. We'll see. That's all I can say. We're going to file a judicial complaint, and with the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, and I can just about guarantee he's going to get slapped.
That's beautiful.
Now, how hard the slap is, who knows?
Who knows?
Anyways, it's almost 10 o'clock. I think we ought to wrap this thing up.
That's good. That's good. Like, I like to keep it short and sweet. Hey, Glenn, I do appreciate your time, man. That was beautiful.
Okay, well, we can do this again sometime if you want.
Sure, absolutely. Whenever you're ready, man. And I want to reach out to you about doing some other things, too, if that's possible.
Okay, well, whatever. Send me an email.
All right, man. Hey, man, Glenn, thank you so much.
All right, well, glad you enjoyed it.
And peace comes from my TikTok following.
There you go.
All right, I want to keep this on there, so I'm going to go ahead and close the live, guys, so I can retain this one. Thanks, Glenn, from Mare Bear, Glenn.
Okay, I'm ending my stream right now.
All right, man.
And I've been recording it on my end, so I'm stopping recording.
Mm-hmm. I've got the TikTok broadcast. I'll send it to you.
What's that?
I got the TikTok broadcast, and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
All right. Hey, guys, I'm going to quit this so I can retain it. I'll probably be back on tomorrow. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Later.
Bye.
Bye.